So yesterday we were looking at the basic problems as pointed out by Economic Survey. All those problems, let us try to recall what are those problems that Economic Survey has pointed out. First and foremost, as I mentioned, it is about sustaining the growth rates, because we are in the last 3 years we have achieved a significant growth rate of above 7%, and this year GDP growth rate is 8.2% also. So the next question here is how can we sustain these growth rates in a challenging environment? What is challenging environment that we are talking about? We are moving towards a deglobalized world, wherein protection is the name of the game, wherein supply side constraints and bottlenecks are the harsh realities that we have to face, wherein the developed countries are not willing to fulfill the commitments they have made to the developing countries with regard to reducing greenhouse gases also. Under those circumstances, how can we sustain our growth rates? As you could see, last year net FDI inflows had come down from around $40 billion to $25 billion. So you cannot depend on this foreign investment anymore like the way we used to do. As we mentioned, China was extremely lucky because it was operating at a time when the world was fastly moving towards globalization, and it has benefited out of it. But that is not the case with India. Then we have mentioned what are the other problems related to India's growth. Next problem we have mentioned is about agriculture, because after Green Revolution what we have witnessed is mostly stagnation in our agriculture. We have achieved food security, but it also had come with so much of negative consequences, and we have not yet moved towards what is called nutritional security. And on the other hand, this Green Revolution also had so many other negative consequences. Excessive use of fertilizers, pesticides and chemicals. Then because of this excessive use of fertilizers, pesticides and chemicals, India is one of those countries, as Economic Survey points out, among the BRICS nations itself, that uses maximum amount of water, irrigation. And on top of it, our efficiency is also very less. Water efficiency is also very less, whether it is surface water or groundwater resources. And continuing with agriculture only, we still are not sure about what is our stand on prices, agricultural prices. Thus, price discovery mechanisms are yet to be fully found, because it is a case that farmers they would be at the losing side when the prices go up. Why? Because immediately what the government would be doing, the government would be doing with coming out with price adjustment mechanisms where they would not allow the farmers to export their products. They would import essential products, and the prices will come down. On the other hand, if there is scarcity, again farmers would be the losers. If there is a glut in food output, it is the farmers who would be losing. If there is scarcity, again it is the farmers who are losing. Why? Because as we mentioned, the basic difference between agriculture and other sectors is, in case of industrial sector and also in case of service sector, it is the producer who has the final authority with regard to determining the prices. Whereas in case of agriculture, it is not the producer but it is the consumer, because the government cannot afford high food inflation. It is the consumer. In 1979, for the first time, politicians have witnessed the negative consequences of high food inflation. In 1979, the prices of onion in those days went up to 100 rupees per kg, and that was the reason only. In fact, that was one of the most important reasons for Janata Party losing power. Again, the same thing happened when BJP was in power in Delhi. That was in 1997. 97, 98. BJP was in power in Delhi. Sushma Swaraj was the chief minister. Again, the prices of onion went up to 100 rupees per kilo in Delhi. After that, we are in 2024. In the last almost 30 years, BJP did not come back to power in Delhi. That is the power of onions. When you cut onions, it will bring tears to your eyes. When the prices of onions go up, it will bring tears to the eyes of politicians. That is the reason why food inflation is always a very sensitive issue. And that is also the reason why the government always looks at the interests of the consumers than that of the producers. And that is the reason why our farmers can never benefit out of what we call high food prices. Automatically the government will take corrective measures. The 3 farm bills which were passed, unfortunately, could not be implemented because those bills could have helped our farmers. Unfortunately, as we keep on saying, reforms in India are always a prisoner of mostly competitive populism, politics. For example, this the recent reform the government wanted to implement, this lateral entry, also had become a victim of political populism. So this is the problem with the agriculture sector. How to make sure that, as this is what MS Swaminathan would always say. MS Swaminathan would always say that agriculture should become an industry for farmers to benefit out of agriculture. What do you mean by agriculture becoming industry? Very simple. Like industry, farmers should also be given the freedom to fix the prices on the basis of demand and supply. On the basis of demand and supply. Economic survey comes out with some innovative and crazy solutions also. What the survey says is that if the prices of sugar go up, when the price of sugar goes up, let the farmers, let the consumers eat jaggery instead of sugar. And otherwise unnecessarily, problems will be there with sugar and BP and all the things. So when they were asked to find solutions to the problems of farmers, they are coming out with solutions to the health problems of the people. Economic survey. It should have been renamed as health survey rather than economic survey. And another problem is that with agriculture only, we have seen a shift in this cropping pattern in the last 15-20 years, wherein farmers are shifting to what we call food crops, from cash crops or commercial crops. Why? Because of the skewed implementation of MSP also. So these are all the problems, and also, and as I mentioned, agricultural exports, they depend on another important factor here. That is, in foreign countries, especially European countries and America, they wanted to reduce exports from countries like India. They are using what we call them in WTO, sanitary and phytosanitary measures to prevent the exports. They are saying that since Indian farmers are using chemicals and fertilizers, they will not export. So this organic farming becomes not only ecologically imperative, economically also extremely important. If you have to focus on improving your exports, you must focus on organic farming. So this is what the next issue, other problem, as we keep on saying, is unemployment. And there is not unemployment is not a problem at all, but also more seriously, unemployable population. According to economic survey, we need at least minimum 78 lakhs jobs every year to provide productive employment to our increasing population. But the problem here is that more than 50%, almost 50% of our graduates do not have the skills. That means they are unemployable. Unemployment cannot be a serious problem provided the people have the skills, because that is what we study in economics, wherein there can be some kind of mismatch between the demand and supply. But here it is not about the mismatch with demand and supply, it is about the fundamental problem, that is lack of skills. The problem is with our education system. Education system is not focusing on skills. As economic survey again points out, this skill development is still considered as what economic survey points out rightly is as least important priorities by the population. This skill development has some kind of negative connotations. That is what the perception among the people, young people. Skill development is considered as some kind of avoidable thing, because they don't realize the importance of this skill development, and there is so much of problem with the skill development also. This also we have to find solution. Next solution we have to look at is inflation. Inflation, especially the food inflation, continues to be very high. What you call it as headline inflation. So economic survey says that since this headline inflation continues to be very high, and it constitutes a very significant part of our overall basket of commodities in inflation, the central bank does not have much of freedom in terms of reducing the interest rates. So what is happening is that interest rates are still very high comparable to a developing economy. But the central bank still is not willing to reduce the interest rates for the fear of higher inflation, because food inflation continues to be very high. So economic survey has come out with a solution saying that let this food in a basket be taken out of the inflation, so that inflation can be measured on the basis of what we call it as core inflation. And economic survey has suggested that the government can take some kind of proactive measures to make sure that poor people are protected from this high food inflation, like giving them food stamps, like giving them other kinds of food subsidies. And the subsidies can be extended not only to food but also nutritious food also. That is what economic survey says. But Reserve Bank of India is against this idea of decoupling food inflation with the rest of the inflation. So controlling for inflation again is going to be a major issue in the coming years. Why? Because in the coming years inflation can be because of this cost push inflation. What do we mean by cost push inflation? As we have discussed yesterday, the trade-offs. What the countries around the world are doing now. What the countries are doing now, as we have mentioned, economic security, and then economic growth and security versus long-term sustainability. And on the other hand, right now we are facing so much of supply side bottlenecks, thanks to growing global geopolitical conflicts, thanks to unpredictable behavior of countries, especially like China, and thanks to these political conflicts in Arab countries. And last year we have seen the Red Sea conundrum also. So this kind of unpredictability makes forecasting also a difficult task. And because of this unpredictability, what happens? The prices of inputs will go up. Automatically, the prices of inputs will go up. When the prices of inputs are going up, what happens? Automatically, you will have more of a cost push inflation. So this is what economic survey again points out. Because there are so many factors which are not in our hands. There are some factors which over which we have control and we can take policy measures. Do we have any control over this conflict that is going on in Central Asia? And do we have any kind of control over what is happening in Russia and Ukraine? And do we have any control over the Chinese economic policy? Because as economic survey points out, it is the economic resource nationalism which is dominating the policies of countries around the world. And no country knows better than China how to exploit this kind of resource nationalism. And this is another major issue that economic survey has pointed out. And the next issue, as we have discussed today, was regarding this growing problems related to environmental degradation. On the one hand, developed countries are not willing to fulfill their commitments made to the developed world in terms of either technology transfer or in terms of providing financial assistance also. And they are supposed to provide around almost $1.9 trillion assistance to developing countries, but which they have not fulfilled. And they are also not willing to transfer these green technologies. And this is where countries like India are at the losing end. Why? Because when there is no transfer of these technologies, it becomes difficult for them to move from energy security to energy transition. Very difficult. we are still forced to use fossil fuels. And another problem is that in a country like India with such very high population, you have no option but to use your natural resources. When you are using them, automatically it results in environmental degradation. So where is this trade-off that we have to find out? Where we can stop the resource utilization and where we can promote ecological stability. Because without utilization of the resources, there cannot be any growth and development. This is another problem Economic Survey points out. Another problem that Economic Survey points out is regarding this growing inequalities in India. This is a major issue, growing inequalities between the rich and poor people. On top of it, as we have mentioned yesterday, artificial intelligence will be accentuating these inequalities more. Why? Because it is only the big MNCs and it is the big this multinational companies and transnational companies which have the resources to invest heavily in artificial intelligence. So automatically there will be more concentration of economic power in their hands. On the other hand, the small organizations simply do not have the kind of resources. They still depend on labor, whereas these big MNCs are focusing more on capital in the form of artificial intelligence. So with this AI, what is going to happen is that there will be more resource redistribution as well as income redistribution more in favor of capital intensive industries. And that is where labor intensive industries are going to suffer. So what can we do and what should we do to promote these labor intensive industries? On the other hand, because of this artificial intelligence, one of the important major consequences is increasing unemployment. Because already you can see in the last 6 months in America itself, lakhs of people have been retrenched, especially in the IT sector, thanks to artificial intelligence. And we have to find solutions to these problems. This is another major issue that the survey had flagged off. Next major issue that the survey had expressed concerns is regarding this governance, because we have implemented first generation of economic reforms between 1991 and 1993. The second generation of economic reforms were implemented between 2001 and 2003. But the third generation of economic reforms, what you call them as governance reforms, are yet to be implemented. Our bureaucracy still suffers from red tapeism, inefficiency, goal displacement, and lack of focus. They still have colonial structures and colonial attitudes and colonial functioning. Our regulatory authorities are still not effective. And in the age of globalization, the fifth important factor of production that had emerged is bureaucracy. And this is where India again is suffering in terms of the rest of the countries. So this governance deficit is going to be a very key problematic thing in the immediate and intermediate future also. How to overcome this governance deficit? This is what Economic Survey also has pointed out. So these are all the problems that the survey has pointed out. Yesterday I think we have seen all those problems, right? I don't think I need to dictate all those problems. Do you want me to dictate all the things that I have mentioned now? I think we have discussed all of them. I have mentioned only the points. I did not go into in-depth discussion. Do you want me to dictate, or can I just skip and can I come to the solutions directly? Dictate. I think I will be giving the material, whatever I mentioned, it is there in the material. So that will be duplication of work. That will be less than optimum utilization of resources, which is a major Indian problem now. Right? So let us come to the solutions then. Let us see all the solutions. What should be done? Right? What are the major solutions? Starting with first problem, employment or unemployment. Employment or unemployment, whatever it may be. Right? So at present you can write India's workforce is is India's workforce is 56.5 crores. 56.5 crores. We are not including you people in the workforce, right? John Maynard Keynes, how did he define full employment? He said that full employment is a situation wherein there is no involuntary unemployment. That is how he has defined, John Maynard Keynes. No involuntary unemployment. What do you mean by that? That means people who are looking for job should always get the job. There are some people who are voluntarily unemployed because they don't want to work. Yes, they are preparing for UPSC, right? So that we are not counting them as unemployment. That is the reason why we have said only 56.5 crores. Otherwise, if you include all your people also, it will be around 200 crores, right? Out of which more than 45% are employed in agriculture. 11.4% in manufacturing. 11.4% in manufacturing. 28.9% in services. 28.9% in services. And 13% in the construction sector. 13% in construction sector. 13% in construction sector. Next, India must generate nearly 78.5 lakh crores. Sorry, 70.85 lakh jobs. 78.51 lakh jobs. 78 lakh 51,000 jobs annually in the non-farm sector, non-agriculture sector. Right, in the non-agriculture sector. This is what the major problem, unemployment. Next, 65% of our population. 65% of our population. Please remember, whenever you are writing answers, you must always quote the necessary facts. That is where economic survey becomes important. 65% of our population is under 35. Is under 35. What does it mean? They are less than 35 years. We are talking about 65% of population, not you people, right? Again, not you people. We are talking about those who are under 35 years, right? And about 51.25% of them, are deemed to be employable. DEEMED, to be employable. Are deemed to be employable. DEEMED, to be employable. What does it mean? It means that they have the necessary skills to get productive employment on their own, and remaining 49% do not have the skills. So the basic, that is what you write. Remaining 49%. Remaining 49% do not have the skills to get productive employment. To get productive employment. to get productive employment. Next, skill development programs. Skill development programs of the central government are spread across 20 ministries and departments. Are spread across 20 ministries and departments. 20 ministries and departments are spread across 20 ministries and departments without any coordination. Without any coordination. That means there are 20 ministries and departments in the central government that have these skill development programs, but unfortunately there is no coordination between them, which results in mostly wastage of resources and duplication of activities. Next, lack of, or you can say not lack of, next, right, mismatch between the skills provided and mismatch between the skills provided and the demands of the industry. What industry is demanding is different from what the skills that are being provided in these skill development programs. Next, multiple assessment systems. Multiple assessment systems. Multiple assessment systems that makes it difficult. To evaluate performance. That makes it difficult to evaluate performance. Right? So, what should be done? What can be done? What should be done? This is what the problem. Let us see what should be done. National policy on skill development. National policy on skill development. National policy on skill development and entrepreneurship focuses on bridging gaps. Improving industry engagement. Establishing a quality assurance framework. Leveraging technologies. And expanding apprenticeship opportunities. Apprenticeship, 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 opportunities. What is apprenticeship? Have you heard about apprenticeship? This is what you find in some of these professions, legal profession, and then accounting, auditing profession. You are working under a senior auditor. That is what is called apprenticeship. You will be learning the techniques of a job, and then after that you can do it on your own also. Apprenticeship opportunities. Pardon? Yeah, same intern, same thing. Yeah, right. This is what we say about unemployment or employment. Now let us come to the agriculture sector. Agriculture sector, apprenticeship opportunities. Let us come to the agriculture sector. Briefly look at the challenges, then we will provide the solutions. What are the challenges? First, sustaining agriculture growth. Sustaining agriculture growth. Sustaining agriculture growth. Without adversely impacting food inflation. Without adversely impacting food inflation. And at the same time, incentivizing farmers. To raise the production. So what we are saying here is that you must sustain your agriculture growth, and at the same time that growth should not impact the food inflation, but at the same time you must also incentivize the farmers to increase the output. When will the farmers increase the output? When will the farmers increase the output? Only when they can expect any profits out of it. And to expect the profit, the prices will go up. If the prices are going up, it would lead to high food inflation. So what should be done? To talk about these things is very easy, but how to put them into practice? What should be done? Right. Next, let us see next problem with agriculture. To improve price discovery mechanisms. For agricultural products. Increase efficiency. Reduce disguised unemployment. Reduce disguised unemployment. Address the problems of fragmentation of land holdings. And increase crop diversification. Crop diversification. Right. So this is what we say. These are all the challenges that the agriculture sector. Right. Then what are the other challenges that we can talk about in the agriculture sector? What are the other challenges? You can write more challenges. Next challenge, you continue with that. Making agriculture consistent with climate considerations. Making agriculture consistent with climate considerations. Making agriculture consistent with climate considerations. And to shift focus from food security to nutritional security. To shift focus from food security to nutritional security. Right. So let us see what are the solutions then. We have seen all the problems. let us look at the solutions. Here we have mentioned this previously also, right? Here we are putting all of them at one place. So let us see what are the solutions. What can be the solutions here? So how can you make farmers earn more money without adversely impacting the consumers? Pardon? Okay, what else? Very simple. How can you make profit? In economics, how can producers make profits? How can they make profits? They can make profits either by increasing the price of your commodity or by reducing your cost of production. That is the solution we are providing. Still cost of production in India is very high compared to the BRICS countries also. I am not talking about rest of the world. BRICS countries also. Our cost of production, per capita, cost is very, very high in India. Why? Because we are not using technology. So what that can be done? One, increase the productivity. Second, make farmers profitable. Third, do not adversely impact the consumers in terms of food inflation. All three objectives can be achieved by reducing the cost of production. That is what we have said. What is required is upgradation of agricultural technologies. First, upgradation of agricultural technologies. Upgradation of agricultural technologies. Then application of modern skills. Application of modern skills in farm practices. Application of modern skills in farm practices. MODE or in modern skills in farm practices. Next, modern skills in farm practices. MODE or in modern skills in farm practices. Yes? Farm, FARM, farm practices. Right? Farmer and farm. Right. Next, improving agricultural industry linkages. Improving agriculture industry linkages. That is what we call it as corporate farming or contract farming. Improving agriculture industry linkages through contract farming and corporate farming. Next, reducing wastages. Reducing wastages in the use of fertilizers, water and other inputs. It can be done by increasing the total net irrigated area. By total net irrigated area. At present, these facts are very important when you are writing answers. That's why I am giving this. At present, irrigation efficiency is only 30 to 40%. Is only 30 to 40% for groundwater. Sorry, for surface water. And 50 to 60% for groundwater. groundwater. So how can you increase it? It can be increased, right? It can be increased through drip irrigation. Through drip irrigation, drip, D-R-I-P, drip irrigation. Have you heard about this? Right. And sprinkler irrigation, sprinkler, S-P-R-I-N-L-K-E-R, sprinkler irrigation, and fertigation, F-E-R-T-I-G-A-T-I-O-N, fertigation, F-E-R-T-I-G-A-T-I-O-N. Fertigation means? Yes, fertilizer plus irrigation. That is not fertigation, right? Fertigation means making sure that the water reaches the bottom rather than at the peripheral levels. That is the reason why you have to have some kind of plug, some kind of small holes in the ground, so that the water directly reaches the plant basis. And you will be losing less amount of water, and it will be more effective also. These fertigation techniques are the ones which are being used mostly in foreign countries, and that is what you have to do. That is where you can ensure irrigation efficiency, reduces the use of fertilizers, and also improve productivity, overall reducing the cost of production. Please remember, last year, that is 2023 mains, out of 8 questions, 4 questions only from agriculture. So every year UPSC is focusing more on agriculture in your Indian economy. That is the reason why I am also giving a little bit more focus to this agriculture. Next, what else can be done? Next solution provided by second ERC is re-examining inflation targeting framework. Inflation targeting framework. The survey has recommended that inflation targeting done by Reserve Bank of India must exclude food inflation. Inflation targeting done by Reserve Bank of India must exclude food inflation. Higher food prices are mostly not demand induced, but supply induced. Whereas monetary policy instruments are mostly used to control what? Demand pull inflation. So what we are saying here is that this is what Economic Survey has rightly pointed out. When the prices are going up, especially food prices, these prices are going up mostly because of seasonal factors or because of what is called supply side bottlenecks. That means in one particular year, there is some kind of a drought or famine, prices go up. Or in one particular region, the output is not there. For example, take the case of onion prices. Nasik in Maharashtra, where you find this onion markets. Tomato prices in Madanapalli in Andhra Pradesh. So when there are no proper rains or there are some kind of problems faced by the farmers, automatically the output will be less and the prices will go up. This is what we call the supply side bottlenecks. Whereas monetary policy instruments like repo rates and reverse repo rates are used to control demand side inflation. So what is happening here is that RBI keeps on increasing the repo rates and reverse repo rates, and it will not be able to control food inflation. Then what is the point of having this kind of inflation targeting? Because you are ending up at a what is called a loss-loss situation. Because of increasing the interest rates by RBI, this repo rates and repo rates, interest rates in the economy will go up, which will increase cost of production only. Does this increase in the repo rates and reverse repo rates will help in controlling the food prices? No. That is why Economic Survey has said that let us try to decouple food inflation from rest of the inflation targets, so that RBI can focus on inflation in what you call core products. That is what the very good suggestion made by Economic Survey. Because these repo rates and reverse repo rates are mostly used to control what is called demand pull inflation, whereas this food prices inflation is mostly because of supply side bottlenecks. For example, you are having a pain in your heart. If you are taking a medicine related to your kidney, that is what exactly the problem here. That is where the problem is here. So that is what Economic Survey has said, that if you have problem with your heart, let us take medicine related to heart. Why are you trying to treat your kidney? That is what it is. This is a very good observation made by Economic Survey. But again, I just said, economic policies are never based on economic rationality. They are based on mostly on political populism. That is the reason why you can see huge amount of difference between what is called Economic Survey and budget. Budget is always a political document with the objective of winning elections and retaining power. Economic Survey is basically a rational economic exercise, providing what you mostly call it as again rational solutions. And mostly the finance ministers will not be able to implement those rational solutions, because there is always be conflict between economic rationality versus political populism. Whereas one of the important solutions provided by Economic Survey is very good. Next solution that Economic Survey has provided. Next solution you can write. The government should not resort to the government should not resort to export bans. Export bans. The government should not resort to export bans, as it adversely impacts profitability of farmers. Profitability of farmers. Farmers must be allowed. Farmers must be allowed to benefit out of higher international prices. To benefit out of higher international prices. Higher international prices. Higher international prices. Next solution. Next solution. There must be shift in the cropping pattern. There must be shift in the cropping pattern with more focus on pulses, then millets, then fruits, vegetables, and milk. And vegetables. Farm policies, agriculture policies, milk, vegetables and milk. That's what I said. Vegetables and milk. Right? Next, farm policies. Farm policies means agriculture policies must be aligned to nutritional security, than food security. Right? Next, farmers must be encouraged. To adopt innovations in farming. With the help of agricultural research institutions. Right? So these are some of the solutions that we can talk about agriculture sector. From agriculture sector, let us move on to the next important sector, MSMEs. Next, move on to the next important sector, MSMEs. Right? You can write MSMEs contribute approximately 30% to our GDP, 45% to manufacturing output, and also provide employment to around 11 crore people. They provide employment to around 11 crore people. Right? So what are the major issues here? Let us look at the major issues here. First and foremost, the problem is with finances. So what economic survey says is that these MNCs require at least 25 lakh crores. 25 lakh crores of investment. There is huge amount of credit gap in these MNCs. 25 lakh crores of rupees is what that is needed for these MNCs. Right. Second, they also suffer from 25 lakh crores. they also suffer from regulatory cholesterol, regulatory regulatory cholesterol, that is too many rules and regulations, too many rules and regulations, too many rules and regulations, too many, TOO, too many rules and regulations. Next problem with MNCs is the gaps in physical and digital connectivity, gaps, GAPS, in physical and digital connectivity. Gaps in digital and physical connectivity. Next problem is proper export strategy for MNCs, MSMEs. Proper export strategy for MSMEs. Proper export strategy for MSMEs. As I said, Bangladesh is doing really well compared to India, and because WTO also comes into picture here, Bangladesh is still a poor country, so that is the reason why Bangladesh gets more kind of subsidies from developed country like America, because of which they could improve their exports. India is still no longer a poor country. When you are talking about the third largest country in the world, America is not willing to accept that we are a poor country, and they will not give you any kind of export concessions. So this is where what the government should have been doing ideally is sign more bilateral and multilateral treaties, so that it becomes easier for our MSMEs to export their products to other countries. So what the government of India has done, let us look at some of the reforms implemented by the government here for MSMEs. What the government has done. First, the government has allocated 5 lakh crores, 5 lakh crores to emergency credit line guarantee scheme. Emergency credit line guarantee scheme. Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, ECLGS, to provide credit to all businesses including MSMEs. All businesses including MSMEs. Next, the focus is also more on physical and digital connectivities. Physical and digital connectivities. Physical and digital connectivities, including developing industrial and freight corridors. Developing industrial and freight corridors. Developing industrial and freight, FREIGST, freight corridors. And giving incentives for the manufacture of for the production of semiconductor chips. Semiconductor chips. Next, semiconductor chips, giving incentives for the manufacturing or production of semiconductor chips. Next, providing training to MSME entrepreneurs in critical areas, like human resource management, financial management, and technology. Human resource management, financial management, and technology. Right? Next problem and the next solution. Let us look at the next problem and next solution. Right? Next problem is managing India's green transition. Next problem is managing India's green transition. India's green transition. Green transition. India has committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by around 35%. By around 35%, in brackets from 2005 levels. In brackets from 2005 levels. Then enhance forest cover. Enhance forest cover to absorb ABSORB, to absorb 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide. 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide. 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide, CO2, and increase the share of non-fossil fuel based electricity. Non-fossil fuel based electricity to 40% by 2030. By 2030. So this is what India has committed. India has said that this is what we want to do. But these are our commitments. Increase our forest cover to absorb 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide, and increase the share of non-fossil fuel based electricity to 40%. Right now it is 30%. We have to increase it by to up to 40%. And these are all the things that we have committed. So what is the problem here? The problem is about finances. Let us see what is the solutions. What are solutions? Climate financing is a major issue. Climate financing is a major issue. Is a major issue to realize the objectives of green transition. India must, the solution is also provided by Economic Survey. India must focus on global green capital. Global green capital from sovereign wealth funds, global pensions, PNSIONS, private equity and infrastructure funds. Next, India must also effectively channelize the existing funds to finance green technologies. It can be done by integrating public and private capital, reducing investment risks, and attracting more private investment. So this is what about the green financing. Again, these are all mostly what we call abstract solutions, because India's sovereign ratings have improved in the global bond markets, but still India is not attracting the kind of investments that it is supposed to attract for various reasons. Why? Because it depends on global financial markets. In European countries, the European Central Bank is increasing the interest rates. So automatically the investors would be investing in their own country rather than coming to India and investing in our country. So either way, it is always problematic for the country. So to attract this kind of investments, so domestic investment, for that you have to make sure that the investors would feel more safe in investing in these green technologies. The government has to create the conducive environment for the private capital to flow into green financing. These are all very difficult tasks, but there is no other way out. Next, the next challenge is how to deal with Chinese monopoly over Next one is Chinese conundrum. 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 How to deal with these Chinese challenges. What is the problem here? China's domination over global supply chains. The problem here is China's domination over global supply chains. And especially after Russian-Ukraine war crisis. Next problem is in energy transition. China has a complete monopoly. Over production and processing of critical earth minerals, which is a major problem for the entire world. So what is the challenge for India? Should we importing capital or finished products from China? There we don't have any choices, because China controls all these critical earth minerals which are needed for energy transition. This is a major problem not only for India but for the rest of the world also. So that is where we don't have any what you call control over our policies also. So these are all for this that is the reason why there is no solution. The solution is very simple. India has to declare war on China and then have access completely to all those resources. This is what we say about all the problems that economic survey talks about. The last problem you can see is building a state capacity. Building a state capacity. India must implement third generation of economic reforms. Third generation of economic reforms. Third generation of economic reforms, that is governance reforms. Governance reforms. It includes making civil servants efficient, effective, and outcome oriented. Lateral entry, outcome oriented. Lateral entry can ensure professionalization of civil services. Professionalization of civil services. So that is what we say. So of course all these recommendations were given before what happened in the last 1 week or so. So you don't take those recommendations seriously. So these are all the problems that economic survey finally talks about. I said, if you try to recall all the problems, obviously first and foremost problem is how to sustain this economic growth of around 8% in the immediate in a few years, and in the intermediate term also in the next 15 years, 20 years. If India can grow at least at around 8.5% till say 2047, then India can become, you can definitely say a developed country. Developed country means per capita income has to be more than $14,000. For that we need at least 8.5 percent growth rate minimum. 8.5. So how to sustain this growth rate? That is the biggest challenge. How to have this kind of growth rate? And again, as I mentioned, we are living in this deglobalized world, and agriculture still contributes more in terms of employment, if not in terms of output. So how to make our agriculture more productive? Then how to improve our financial system? We have implemented some of these reforms like recapitalization of banks and also implementing insolvency and bankruptcy code. But we are yet to develop what is called secondary market. Especially we have to make our stock markets much more effective, because still if you look at the population, percentage of population wise, India, very less people are still investing in the stock markets. So we need more money either from the banks or from the stock markets for the private sector. Because unless and until private sector investment is there, you cannot have a rapid growth and development. And this is where the biggest problem. Private consumption and private investment are not picking up in spite of the best efforts of the government, especially after the corona crisis. That is what another problem. Then of course we have discussed about employment, skill development and education. All of them have to be simultaneously resolved. And of course, the major issue is this green transition, because we have to look at this green transition not only from the global perspective but from our own interest point of view also, because environmental degradation can have a huge amount of negative impact on your population, especially poor people. From the food security, we can become a food insecure country also. Forget about nutritional security. So these are all the issues and some other solutions that are provided. Now let us come to a budget. Yes. See, Joseph Schumpeter, one of the greatest economists, he would always talk about development. He would say that this development is mostly through, he would call it as a construction through destruction. For example, before computers, people had so many jobs like typewriting and other manual work. With the computers, all of them had lost their jobs, but they have developed other skills, software skills, and they started getting jobs. This is fine. But what is the difference between computers and AI? In case of AI, it will take away all your jobs and without creating any new jobs. It will take away all your jobs. In case of computers, they have created more jobs and more productive jobs also. But in case of AI, it will take away all your jobs and without creating any new jobs. That is where the problem with AI. And as we have mentioned, there is no easy solution to AI. If you don't adopt AI, what happens? You will become less competitive at the global level. If you adopt AI, already more unemployment. Right? Heads I win and tails you lose. That is the kind of situation. And the government has to seriously think about what should their policy with regard to AI. Because, as I said, take the case of MSMEs. MSMEs are mostly labor intensive. AI is capital intensive. So who will benefit? MNCs, not MSMEs. MNCs will be having more huge amount of profits. MSMEs will be facing a lot of tough competition. Because all the work that is being done by human beings can be done better by artificial intelligence. Tomorrow, take the case of multi-specialty hospitals. There, you don't require doctors to perform the operations. Robots will be performing the operations far better than the doctors. Right? Then why do you need doctors? And take the case of our cars, driverless cars. Lakhs of people in India dependent on this driver jobs. All of them would be doing. That is why our minister, this Nitin Gadkari, he said that he would never allow driverless cars in India. If there are driverless cars, you will have jobless drivers. Right? That is it. But again, can you get simply out of this AI? Then your economy would become less competitive. Even in agriculture production also you can use AI. The machines can be used, and you can have harvesting and everything else, crushing and harvesting, everything can be done with the help of AI, and they can do it far better. And what will the 45% of our population who is engaged in agriculture will be doing? UPSC preparation. Very good, right? And after tomorrow, UPSC also will use AI. They will conduct the examination only using AI, right? And after that, we, the permanent unemployed people, UPSC coaching industry, will also lose their job because tomorrow in front of me, or you can have a robo taking classes far better. Yes, because it has so much of information which ordinary people cannot have at their disposal, right? So that is the reason why this AI has incredible consequences. On the other hand, the negative consequences also can be unimaginable also. Using AI, sitting in front of my laptop, what I can do is that I can control a flight which is flying at 35,000 feet above my ground level. I can completely take over the entire system of the flight. Then we don't require terrorists to go into Pentagon, right? I can control around 10 flights and directly they can go to Pentagon. That is what it is, because there is no limit. So that is the reason why let us not talk about AI, but definitely this year you can expect in your mains a good number of questions about AI, right? So let us see what are the important aspects of our budget. We are looking at only the most important ones, because our finance minister has the tendency to project very long budgets. This year the budget speech is less compared to previous years. So let us look at the most important ones. We can write budget 24-25 focuses on employment, skilling, MSMEs, it has identified 9 priorities. It has identified 9 priorities. First, productivity and resilience in agriculture. Productivity and resilience, RESILIENCE, in agriculture. Please remember, this budget is mostly an extension of economic survey, this year's budget, except some kind of deviations, or almost whatever economic survey has suggested we are repeating here. As I said, economic survey has focused on this improving the productivity and making farmers more profitable. That is the reason why the first one we are talking about it. So what the budget is doing for agriculture sector as part of the first thing, let me give you 2-3 important points. What the budget? A comprehensive review of agricultural research. A comprehensive review of agricultural research with focus on raising productivity and promoting sustainable agriculture. Sustainable agriculture. 1 crore farmers. Next point, 1 crore farmers. 1 crore farmers will be initiated into natural farming. Natural organic farming. Natural organic farming. That is what we are saying. Basically, focusing on research with the objective of increasing productivity and also promoting a climate sustainable agriculture. Next, employment and skilling. Second one is employment and skilling. As I said, it has identified 9 priorities, so we are talking about all the 9 priorities. Second one is employment and skilling. Right? What the government is doing here as part of employment and skilling. One month wage to new entrants. 1 month wage. One month wage to new entrants, ENTRANTS, in all formal sectors. In all formal sectors, in 3 installments. In 3 installments, up to 15,000 rupees. Up to 15,000 rupees. It is expected to benefit. It is expected to benefit 210 lakh young people in the country. 210 lakh young people means how many crores? Pardon? 210 lakh young people. You know, if the government says 2.1 crores, it doesn't look a big number. When you say 210 lakhs, it looks very big number. That is what economic survey does. Our budgets do manipulation. Next, 20 lakh youth will be skilled. 20 lakh youth will be skilled over a period of 5 years. Over a period of 5 years. Next, 1,000 ITIs. ITI means Industrial Training Institutes will be upgraded. Will be upgraded with a focus on outcomes. With focus on outcomes. Third important measure, inclusive human resource development. Inclusive human resource development and social justice. And social justice. Social justice. Inclusive human resource development and social justice. So what the government is doing as part of this? Purvodaya, Purvodaya, Purvodaya. Purvodaya means developing the eastern part of the country. Purvodaya, Purvodaya, Purvodaya. Developing mineral rich states. Developing mineral rich states in the eastern part of the country. In the eastern part of the country. Eastern part of the country means, okay, you know, must be knowing all the states. What are they? You are talking, you are saying eastern part of the country and you are calling West Bengal. Okay, Bengal only. Say, right. You know, look at the name of the state also. It is on the easternmost part of the country and you are calling it as West Bengal. I mean, they don't even know the sites also. Right? Huh? Bangladesh, exactly. See, you know, at that point of time, you know, Bangladesh was known as East Bengal and Now, the present one is known as West Bengal. Now, Bangladesh has already been created long time back. It is getting destroyed also. Still, we are calling it as West Bengal. What nonsense! Okay, you mean to say that West Bengal will be merged with Bangladesh, so that Mamata Banerjee would be the president of the United Bangladesh? Okay, fine, no problem. Why should Bengal only suffer? Let Bangladesh also suffer, right? So next, manufacturing and services. Third one is manufacturing and services. Third or fourth, whatever it may be. Fourth, very good. Thank you very much. Third. Manufacturing and services. I think it is fourth one. Fourth one. It seems all of us are sailing on the same boat in terms of calculating numbers. After 1 second, we don't know what is third or fourth also. Manufacturing services. The government has enhanced the limit. Government has enhanced limit of Mudra loans. Mudra loans, MUDRA, enhance the limit of Mudra loans from 20 lakhs to from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. From 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. And as economic survey suggested also, next one is credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs. Credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs. Credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs in the manufacturing sector. In the manufacturing sector. Next, urban development. Urban development. PM Awas Yojana. PM Awas Yojana. Urban 2.0. Urban 2.0. It does not mean that Prime Minister will be constructing one more house for himself. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana means Prime Minister will not be constructing houses for himself. He will be constructing houses for poor people. Right? He will not be constructing houses. He has already constructed a very good house for himself. Urban 2.0. More than 1 crore urban poor people. More than 1 crore urban poor people will get houses. Will get houses with an investment of 10 lakh crores. $10 lakh crores. Next, 10 lakh crores. Next, encouraging the state governments. Encouraging the state governments to reduce stamp duties. To reduce stamp duties for properties purchased by, to reduce stamp duties for properties purchased by women. Properties purchased by women. Next, transit oriented development plans. TRANSIT. Transit oriented development plans for 14 large cities. Large cities with a population of above 30 lakhs. with a population of above 30 lakhs. Transit-oriented development plans for 14 large cities with a population of above 30 lakhs. What do you mean by transit-oriented development plans? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by transit-oriented development plans? Pardon? Transfer? Come again, building of? No, transit oriented means not about transportation. That is transportation oriented. This is transit oriented. That means you want to make sure that these 14 large cities with a population of about 30 lakhs would move towards sustainable cities. In terms of reducing pollution, improving transportation, providing sustenance in the form of housing, improving underground drainage facilities, providing electricity. That is what we say transit oriented. Next, energy security. Next one is energy security. Energy security. Financial support. For shifting, financial support for shifting of micro and small industries to cleaner forms of energy. Right. Next, infrastructure. Next focus area is infrastructure. Providing 11 lakh 11,111 crores. 11 lakhs 11,111 crores for infrastructure development. Because since our Prime Minister is number one, all ones should be there only here. Right? In brackets 3.4% of our GDP. In brackets 3.4% of our GDP. In brackets it is 3.4% of our GDP. Next, providing 1.5 lakh crores. 1.5 lakh crores to state governments as long-term interest-free loans. For infrastructure development. Next, as part of infrastructure only, focus on tourism. As part of infrastructure development only, focus on tourism, especially for states like Bihar and Odisha. Next, providing financial assistance to Assam, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Assam, Sikkim and Uttarakhand for improving irrigation and for flood mitigation Next focus area is innovation, research and development. Innovation, research and development. If you remember, this is what we have discussed yesterday also. This 2010s could be called as a lost decade in India because neither the government invested in R&D nor the private sector invested in R&D. When China was investing in robotics, artificial intelligence and fifth generation technologies 5G, India was mostly spending all its monies only on subsidies. That is the reason why this year budget has recognized innovation, research and development. Yesterday we have discussed all those things. So write down what the government is doing. Private sector driven research and innovation. Private sector driven research and innovation at commercial scale with a total sum of 1 lakh crores. 1 lakh crores. 1 lakh crores. This amount will be used to provide incentives to private sector so that the private sector can come out with research and innovation and use that money for commercial gains also. For example, IPRs, intellectual property rights in India, are very, very less. This is one area where India could have gained huge amount of traction compared to rest of the world with the kind of human resources that we have. So the government has said that let us focus on innovation, research and development, and we are keeping around 1 lakh crores. This amount of money will be used to incentivize the private sector to focus on research and development, and that can be used for commercial purposes also. That is what the government has said. Next, the last one is next generation of economic reforms. As I said, we said third generation of economic reforms is what is required. The last one is the next generation of economic reforms. What are these next generation of economic reforms? First one is Bhu Aadhaar cards for all lands. Aadhaar card for lands. That is what is called Bhu Aadhaar cards. BHU. Bhu means Bhumi. Aadhaar cards for all lands. Bhu Aadhaar cards for all lands. So that tomorrow the land can also claim its fundamental rights. Because Supreme Court also has said that in a right to privacy, land can always tell the people that this is my Aadhaar card, don't come here. Bhu Aadhaar card for land. Next, GIS mapping. GIS, Geographical Information Systems mapping, to digitalize urban land records. Urban land records. Next, as we have discussed with economic survey only, all these are all the recommendations made by economic survey only. Next one is ensuring availability of capital. Ensuring availability of capital for climate adaptation. Climate adaptation, ADAPTATAYN, and mitigation related investments, and mitigation related investments. Mitigation related investments. Next, simplifying procedures for FDIs, foreign direct investments, and using Indian rupee FDI, foreign direct investment, and using Indian rupee as a currency for overseas investments. Right? This is more about the budget. We are not going into the controversial aspects of a budget, which the government has already withdrawn also, the indexation thing. So this is what it is. In a budget is trying to provide some of the solutions which Economic Survey has pointed out. But unfortunately, the problems are so severe that one budget cannot provide all the solutions also. So this is more than enough for Economic Survey and budget, and I have already marked the important pages so that you have to study from Economic Survey. It is already there in our Telegram group also. Whatever that we have discussed yesterday and today, you with the kind of knowledge now you have at your disposal, you should be in a position to understand what is being written in Economic Survey and budgets also. And make sure that we are focusing on all of them, because UPSC in our GS Indian economy, especially mains, will be asking questions only from these topics. The questions will be about employment and skill development. It will be about green financing. It will be about infrastructure development. It will be about deglobalization process. It will be about growing inequalities and the measures taken by the government. It will be about agriculture. Maximum number of questions. Beyond this, I don't think you have to study anything else, because which should be more than sufficient. If any have any kind of doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, we can end our discussions. And if you want to read the original budget document, if you want, you can read it. If you have free time, if you want, you can read it. Pardon? Only? I am not talking about Economic Survey. I am talking about the budget. Right? Economic Survey you will not be able to read it, so don't worry. Right? Economic Survey only read the pages which I have marked. I am sure now you will be able to understand what is there in those pages. So that is it. And any kind of doubts you can always mention them in our Telegram group, and I will answer those questions. Right? So that is more than enough. Best of luck.